Today on Newsbreak, it's the shocking state of the nation now. It is clear for all to see our nation in deplorable condition. Ghanaians continue to wonder, how did we get to this point?
Wait, doesn't Ghana belong to all of us?
And not some few individuals.
You just read my mind.
Why must someone come and spoil all that has been built for over 60 years, and we still need to build it again?
It's all because of the future of our children and their children. Building the Ghana we all want together.
Article 94 is not talking about eligibility to contest elections. It is about becoming a member of Parliament. This only takes place at the point of swearing in. Instead of fidelity to the text of the Constitution, which the CJ nominee professed as her preferred approach to constitutional interpretation, she succumbed to what we believe was a flawed precedent set earlier by the Supreme Court in the ex parte Zaneto case. That is the Republic versus High Court, General Jurisdiction, Accra, ex parte Zaneto Rawlings, Ashite, and National Democratic Congress Interested Parties, number 2 of 2015 to 2016, 1 Supreme Court Ghana Law Report, page 92, which this current court relied on, was wrongly decided by an earlier panel of the Supreme Court. Zaneto would have been qualified anyway if the Supreme Court was to conclude that Article 94 deals with qualification to be a member of Parliament. She would have been qualified anyway if they had adopted the position that we're adopting today, and not eligibility to contest elections to be a member of Parliament, which was what was in issue in the Zaneto case. In the Zaneto case, it was eligibility to contest, because the matter was before the contest. If even we admit that there should be some housekeeping matters at the point of filing nomination papers, that should be the appropriate province of legislation and not judicial enactment. What they did was to enact laws, the Supreme Court, not to interpret the text of the Constitution of Ghana. James Jachikwesin is gearing up to contest the by-election in Asin North, which has been brought about by the Supreme Court's decision. In that regard, we, the members of the Appointments Committee representing the National Democratic Congress, NDC, will not withhold our approval of the Chief Justice nominee by consensus. We will not withhold our approval of her by consensus. Her CV reveals a person of considerable experience, having served as a judge from the High Court to the Court of Appeal and ultimately at the Supreme Court. Women who have acquitted themselves should be given opportunities to occupy key national offices. Even as we disagree with her jurisprudence, we find her qualified to occupy the high office of Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana.
Indeed, if you look at this document submitted by Mr. Kenoforeta, the Finance Minister, to Parliament, you would realize that, one, these payments cover fuel consumption, which otherwise should have been recovered through the tariff structure. When you consume fuel, it means that the plant is running. Nobody with a generator in the house consumes fuel when the generator is idle. All of you are aware of how they mismanaged the PDS deal. Today, the losses have gone up to 30%. So when government pays for these losses or shortfalls, they cannot be described as excess capacity charges. You are aware that the Ghana cedi was the worst performing currency in Africa for 2022, depreciating by more than 50%. And so ECG alone incurred forex losses of 4.8 billion cedis in 2022 alone. So when ECG incurs such huge losses due to the incompetence and mismanagement of the economy, President Mahama cannot be held liable for such payments. President Akufo-Addo unilaterally decided that the required reserve margin ought not be factored as part of the tariff computation. And so if government pays for the required reserve margin, that cannot be the fault of President Mahama. GOIL has supplied so much fuel to the police, to the military, to health agencies. And so when you pay for them, you cannot lump all this together and describe them as capacity charges. That is frivolous, that is untenable, and that cannot stand the test of time. From the information provided, we still want to stand by our conviction that the 17 billion cedis put out by the Vice President as payments for excess capacity can only be a figment of his own imagination.
Over 8 million SIM cards that have been disconnected, including even the SIM card of the Speaker of Parliament, not the Deputy, but the Speaker of Parliament himself. His official SIM card was disconnected, even though it was registered in the name of Parliament of Ghana. We have judges, we have lawyers, we have doctors, MPs whose SIM cards were disconnected. Even me, my SIM card was disconnected. Our SIM cards were disconnected. But I'm the honorable member of Parliament for Ningo Pram, elected member, and the elected parliamentary candidate for the NDC again.
and the leader of the Stubborn Academy. And the leader of the Stubborn Academy.
The dean of Stubborn Academy. Mr. Speaker, no. The Stubborn Academy is insisting that the National Identification Authority must provide us Ghana cards. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is important that the minister briefs this House, even if possible today, because people's livelihoods have been affected. And people's money they use for their transactions has been stuck. You understand me? On their cards. And Mr. Speaker, it is important that this House takes into consideration that the National Identification Authority has failed to issue any Ghanaian citizen a Ghana card in any district NIA office since December 2022. And so it is not the fault of the Stubborn Academy that we've not been able to register our SIM cards. It is not the fault of any Ghanaian that they have not been able to register SIM cards, and that the NIA must also appear here alongside the minister for us to resolve the matter. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I, Ernest Yao Enim,
Do in the name of the Almighty God swear
in the name of the Almighty God swear
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Republic of Ghana as by law established,
to the Republic of Ghana as by law established,
that I will uphold
the
the sovereignty and integrity of Ghana,
sovereignty and integrity of Ghana,
and that I will preserve,
protect,
and defend
the
Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
So help me God.
So help me God.
The former Member of Parliament, the Honorable Baswa, was indeed a good friend to most of us. The Honorable Baswa actually worked in such a way that he cut across the divide of the House and exhibit competence in his work. It is our hope that our new colleague who has just joined us today will learn from the good example of our departed colleague, the Honorable Baswa, who unfortunately passed on in the first meeting of this Parliament. Mr. Speaker, again, it is my hope that our colleague will quickly settle down as a Member of Parliament for the people of Kumewu, and then obviously perform the task that he has to perform according to the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana.
The contest at Kumewu, a by-election contest, was generally clean and devoid of the usual acrimony associated with by-elections. And the people of Kumawu must be congratulated for exhibiting true patriotism. And one hopes that the impending by-election will be conducted on the same path generally. It has barely 1.5 years to be in this House for the conduct of another election, the main election, the general election slated for 2024, which we hold in December. Within this limited time, he is required to distinguish himself so that his people will see the goodness in him and vote again for him in the next impending election.
Elected member and the elected parliamentary candidate for the NDC again. And the leader of the Stubborn Academy. And the leader of the Stubborn Academy.
The dean of Stubborn Academy. Mr. Speaker, no. The Stubborn Academy is insisting that the National Identification Authority must provide us Ghana cards. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is important that the minister briefs this House, even if possible today, because people's livelihoods have been affected. And people's money they use for their transactions has been stuck. You understand me? On their cards. And Mr. Speaker, it is important that this House takes into consideration that the National Identification Authority has failed to issue any Ghanaian citizen a Ghana card in any district NIA office since December 2022. And so it is not the fault of the Stubborn Academy that we've not been able to register our SIM cards. It is not the fault of any Ghanaian that they have not been able to register SIM cards, and that the NIA must also appear here alongside the minister for us to resolve the matter. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
We mismanage the exchange rate, or when we poorly manage the economy, resulting in a deteriorating exchange rate, it impacts our ability to pay for the power we generate. I would have expected the World Bank country director to have placed more emphasis on managing the economy efficiently in order to create a stable exchange rate. The exchange rate between this period has virtually tripled, and must the PPA be the reason for the deteriorating exchange rate? The deteriorating exchange rate rather affects the tariff in the PPA. The World Bank and the IMF and the Ministry of Finance have failed to manage an efficient economy. They failed to run an economy that creates confidence to warrant a stable exchange rate. The exchange rate is a major driver of high tariffs on the domestic scene. I will really want the World Bank country director to come again. Rather than throwing partisan or seemingly partisan punches, his intervention should bring us together to find solutions to the power sector challenges, and not to create a political divide when we need to pull together. ECG loses about 30% of the electricity they buy before they reach the market. That is, if you take technical and commercial losses combined. So there is work to be done in that area to reduce wastage, to improve revenue flows. As we speak, the sector owes around $1 billion for gas utilized. Gas we have used that we have not paid for. The difference today compared to 2014-2015 is that we owe ourselves. VRA owes GMPC, VRA owes Ghana Gas, Ghana Gas owes GMPC, the thermal plants owe VRA, Sonu Asogle and the rest who are supplied by VRA owe VRA. They owe VRA because ECG owes all of them, and NETCO owes and owe all of them, because they are unable to recover the monies they should be recovering from customers. Had it not been for the investment done in the gas sector that enables us today to have domestic gas, we would definitely have been in load shedding. Because if we were owing N-gas, which is Nigerian gas, these sums, they would have cut us off a long while ago. So yes, the power sector is challenged. We have issues that I call for all hands on the deck. We must collectively find solutions before these boomerangs. But the solution is not a partisan approach or partisan attacks. And this is where the World Bank country director has done a disservice to this country.
Power FM.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that was say Mama Kwaba yesia. Ebremu ye trase ne yedi nkomo de wankasa. Ebe ye wo dead ye mo be ye kama. Ena yesia yedi nkomo de fa ho no. Na ene day a lot of things that are ekoso. Another ye won komo bebre ye wose ye die said ye be ye no ma hodo ene a lot of issues are ebetumi esisi no ni nyina no ebetumi akoso jojo e de amayen. Mene wo kwa share this video and sana yaba ababetrase edin komo. Justice Jones Doche Enra Okasai. Ne nyame ya aduma wochena obekọ retirement. Mema ya hwe video we ne agina so edin komo. Meba isia.
I promised my family I was not going to cry, so I will soldier on. All the good things have been said, but today is a day of showing appreciation. First of all, I want to show appreciation to Almighty God for His grace and mercy that has sustained me through my life journey from Pando, Amfueta, Ho, Sekendi, and Accra until this day. In 2 days' time, I will be 70 years old. I also appreciate my dear parents, Alex Kosi Doche and Victoria Kesia Doche, for bringing us up. They sowed the seed, nurtured it, and especially our mother, who had to endure the rash realities of a single mother when the old man died in 1969, when I was in secondary form 3. In those days, there was no intestate succession law. And I can say, I told the CJ designate has omitted certain parts of my interview. I will not go back to that interview. I also appreciate His Excellency President Kufuor, who gave me the opportunity upon the recommendation of the Bar Council. The Bar Council nominated myself, Justice Eni Yeboah, the former Chief Justice, Justice Mafusao, Justice Francis Kobier, and others to the High Court bench. The Bar Council again indicated that Justice Eni Yeboah and myself should go to the Court of Appeal straight away. Justice Redu said he was not going to allow anybody to come from the bench straight to Court of Appeal, but that if we distinguish ourselves within on the bench, he will elevate us. And to the goodness of God, we were sworn into the High Court on the 18th of June 2002, and on the 23rd of September 2003, Justice Eni Yeboah and myself were elevated to the Court of Appeal. And on the 11th of June 2008, Justices Rose Constance Owusu, myself, Justice Eni Yeboah, and Justice Paul Bafuboni were again elevated to the Supreme Court. cannot help but say that if you find God, you have found everything. And if you lose God, you have lost everything. And if you put your faith in God's hands, you will see God's hands in everything that you do. I also appreciate the chiefs and people of Pando, our paramount chief, Tobe Dagadu. I also appreciate the chief of my division, that's Pando Aziabi, and then Pando Chape, all the chiefs and elders. I also appreciate the chiefs and queen mothers of my mother's hometown and my national service in 1979, and ended up spending 23 years of my practicing life as a lawyer in home, and it was there that I found a beautiful wife, Sylvia. And I also recognize her family, the Ajima family from Abutia, for the support, and my sisters-in-law. Some of them are here from Kwetwe, and my in-laws. We have a very deep family connection in Pando, such that one of our cousins, Mr. Frank Obed Mensah, he took charge of Mawena, my senior brother, about whom, if I want to speak, I can speak for the whole day, because Mawena was the one who nurtured me and planned my career.
Yada Justice Jones Doche, yada ase papa, ene osompa, ana osombone, ya wode be som Ghana. Me kasa osompa, ana osombone, purposely because of say ene ubetre tira, yama wakwenya, anka obeye amendment, ewa judgment biya, wode ba ya unfavor. Adia ba kwa wase nipa bi etie ne ye ene ede ya menemo kasa ene awie na wo hya ne nso na Justice Jones Doche etie sankrato abiem ne se ewiase no obinim otena asem akwanya yenya ne once owura Jodramani Mahama anya akwanya akọ ya wo ba biem se wo ba be rectify enuoma bia ankoyie awo na ban mu no obesiesie amana toyie barana Justice Jones Doche watena ufiri adwuma ni mu a eno ano no wonya kwanya ema Supreme Court biem ema ya judge biem yet the last time media futuo adema ya mame esaba araba tokonu Justice me catching the say obapa wo wa kwanya obetum dia ye bibia wo pe but ya no wa kai de be say there will be a day wo so obekrase ya so wo me fa ya we will all witness what will happen now be handle over power now be who say Supreme Court no na ya disi abeti ni yamfansoa. Because whatever you do, one day, you will hand over power and account for your deeds. Yet you say, your Papa Justice John Dote, owura kofo the frewo, na penso na call High Court, na penso na call Court of Appeal, na penso and now call Supreme Court. It is a assembly bar with judgment na kwaseng. And with judgment ahodwa wo tro ye no judgment ahodwa wo make ye no judgment ahodwa mo ye no go home sit down read it na who na say we ya the papa na we ya the bone but adia ba ko a make all the time and say na wo ka ho and na birth certificate and you valueless e wa Ghana na wo ka ho because sabra no now so your Supreme Court judge and the mumaki judgment eba yebeto just say the birth certificate and no and the indicate say obi ye Ghana ni ewom say obi ye Ghana ni na mum eno ni abodini krata because ye bisa say Justice Jones Dote and dia na tire say we ye lawyer we law certificate onya ye from Mokola and how the betre enya Mokola dan it is ye wo bi wa Ghana certificate na ye de bema no no eno na tire say nipa somasi ono so ye Ghana ni obi ni bi ente so onya Ghana ni but obi kura bi a e ma ne ye Ghana ni pa it is so koye eya o koye passport a ye bisa say o birth certificate wan that is the only document ye bisa wo koye Ghana card ye bisa say o birth certificate wan adwuma bia wo koye a ye pese ehunu say we ye Ghana ni no eya o birth certificate ene ye bisa but then under watch birth certificate is nothing, it's meaningless, valueless. But still now, you are man for a good birth and death. But some swear you are man sicker at the tree of Moka. And Mamma free, sir, under your watch. And about your battle just say nomination at Lessie and Obi, you're nominated one. At Lessie, why you MP no. Eti enyuma bebrebe a wo ye watire animonyama botira eba wo no tena say fa record hwemu biam kenkan mu biam and now what about ordinary person like Oheneba Boamah what about a civilian eti dia wo ye aya no makai Justice RSC club mo justice is ahodo mo ba ye yeah, no must study some of them. No, I be say time and not judges and that's be a process for best me and sa and 9 and a bon hobino. There will be a time when you be cram and more hobine. If you go home, sit down, read your notes. Baby, out from yano. Uber to me about one tier pagana for say judgment where you made by batamwa. Yeah, that's a papa. Yame. And found coffee asum dream. Wabra watna. Yadu coffee.